You guys, we did it! I've uploaded to YouTube 100 days in a row. Woo! Let's go! Man, it feels crazy to think that I started this on January the 2nd. Here we are on April the 10th. 100 days of uploading to YouTube in a row. It's been insane, guys. But today, what I wanted to do is share a few lessons that I have learned along the way, because I'm pretty confident that the lessons that I have learned, you can take and apply to almost anything that you think is going to be hard in your life, okay? So without further ado, let's get stuck straight into it. And the first thing I want to say is that you need to embrace the fact that if you are starting something brand new that you've never done before or you haven't done for a long time, that you are going to suck at first, but that's normal and that's okay. Because I think a lot of the time we look at people, maybe we've just seen them for the first time recently, but they've been doing it for 5, 10, 20 years, and we think, oh my God, they've got such natural talent, I could never do that. And the reality is just because we've seen them for the first time today, it doesn't mean it's the first time that they have done this. When they first started this, they would have sucked as well. You also have to realize that if you consider that a lot of the stuff that people are trying to do nowadays, whether it's, their career, for a side hustle, for, I don't know what else it could be, a lot of that stuff is done online with technology, using the internet. And it's almost impossible to assume you're going to be naturally good at any of this stuff, because this stuff, all of this, hasn't been around long enough for our brains to have evolved for anybody to be naturally good at it. We're all just trying to figure it out. And in the real grand scheme of things, we are still in the baby stages, the infancy of all of this technology, of the internet and stuff like this. So even if you were to start today, which I would encourage you to do, you are literally still getting in at the ground floor, and you will suck, because I sucked. And guess what? After 100 days, I still think I suck. I just suck a little bit less, and that's absolutely fine. And I think you need to have the realization that you're gonna suck at the beginning, and you're probably still gonna suck after 100 days, maybe even 300 days. I don't think this is ever the type of thing that you want to assume that you're necessarily good at or a master at. Because if you do, I think you get a little bit arrogant. And if you get a little bit arrogant, you're gonna get a little bit lazy. And if you get a little bit lazy, you're actually just gonna get worse. So I think it's always best to have that sort of mindset of always being a student and never necessarily the teacher. So that was very much a huge lesson that I learned. And I think tying in with that, you also need to realize that whatever you're trying to do, it's not actually about the skill of the skill you're trying to acquire or the skill that you're trying to utilize. It really is about just turning up consistently and daily. Because if you turn up consistently, you will figure out what the skills are that you need to be good at it, and then you will get good at those skills. Because going into it, you might think you know what the skills are, but you'll probably realize that, that one of them is a skill, but the other one, you didn't even think about it, you didn't even realize it, and then you go away and you develop that skill. Like if I think about this, for example, the obvious skill you need is to be able to have the confidence to press record and talk to a camera. The less obvious ones that I didn't really think about were angles, how I set up the specifics of the camera, how to, upload with certain thumbnails and titles and SEO optimized descriptions and all of this jazz, which at the beginning, I didn't even comprehend. I didn't even really think about uploading in the first place. And then I found out I have quite literally the worst internet in the world, but yet I have I'm talking 3 hours to upload a 10-minute video, guys. It's mental, sometimes 6. But you just have to turn up, you just have to realize that, and you just have to get over those hurdles. And the process of that, the challenge of that, is really the sort of main goal of it all. Another huge thing to say is that, and I'm not saying I did this, but you need to realize that you don't want to be doing whatever your goal is, you don't want to be doing it for external validation. You don't want to be doing it for the benefit of other people or because you think it's going to improve your status amongst other people. That sort of those external factors, because at the beginning, it will be very romanticized, People will be very supportive, and maybe they will be at the end as well. Like maybe when I post about this, a few people are going to care. I don't know. But in the middle, for the large part, it will be very, very, very lonely. No one will care because everyone will have moved on to the next shiny object, the next rocky cutscene, the next exciting clip, whatever it might be. And then maybe a few of them will pop back up at the end and be like, oh yeah, he did it, well done. It's like a great example of this I actually saw yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. There's a guy, apologies, I don't know his name. He's just run the length of Africa. Like just an insane feat. I believe he's the first man to have ever done it. And I saw a couple of the social posts, and like when he first started it, I remember, I think it was like a year ago, there was loads of coverage about it. And then in the middle, maybe I saw like 3 or 4 clips. And then at the end, everyone is jumping on the bandwagon. All these massive media corporations, because they just want the clicks and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, it's so impressive, well done. It is very impressive, by the way. I don't want to take away anything from this guy. What I don't appreciate is these giant media companies jumping on just so that they can get some of his clout. I think that's ridiculously unfair towards him, and supporting him when they could have supported him throughout the whole journey. He was raising money for, I actually don't even know what he was raising money for. There you go, it tells you a lot, doesn't it? Whereas if these guys had supported him throughout, he probably could have raised 10 times that amount of money, right? So you need to realize that don't expect people to be like that supportive. They just won't. And that's fine. Like, it's not on them to support you, by the way. That's not me having a go at anybody close to me. You just need to realize that you don't want to be doing anything difficult for external reasons. And I say that because I think a lot of people do. They do it for someone else. They do it for, you know, the validation of other people, and you really don't want to be doing that, okay? What else have I written down? We want to be doing things, we want to do things that we want to get positive feedback from, okay? And this is why it's hard at the beginning. So a little bit like the gym. When you first start going to the gym, a lot of people don't like going to the gym. They're like, oh, this is hard, it hurts, I have to take time out of my day, I don't really feel confident in here, it makes me nervous, anxious, whatever it might be. And they're not getting any positive feedback. They don't feel any better and they don't look any better. But we know if they stick at it for even 2, 3, 4 weeks, they will slowly start to get that positive feedback, okay? And then they get addicted to it, okay? So what you also have to realize though is that every time you get that positive feedback, for you to kind of want to do it more, that positive feedback stimulus has to get greater and greater every time. You can't just rely on getting the same thing, which is why I suppose you kind of have to like progressively overload in the gym. You know, you have to kind of embrace the fact that your challenge, whatever it might be, is going to get harder as you take every single step. But that's another good point to make actually, guys, is that try not to be overwhelmed by the magnitude of your challenge, whatever it might be. Because if you're trying to do something that you know is monumentally difficult, whatever it might be, and it's going to take you a certain amount of time, or you can see the sort of mountain metaphorically or physically in front of you, and you're like, wow, I've got to climb that. If you spend your whole time looking up at the top of that mountain, every single step, God, it's going to feel like the mountain's getting further away, not closer and closer. But if you've got the roadmap, if you know you're going in the right direction, if you are confident in yourself and your ability to climb that mountain, if you've got that self-assuredness, you just need to look down and take every step one by one. Take every day one by one. And you will realize that you will get there far quicker and far easier than you thought you would. Because so often, more often than not, I believe, the anticipation of the journey, of the task, of the challenge is much worse than actually doing it for itself, okay? So that's a huge one that I definitely learned. Another one, energy. Energy is everything. If you're going into something but you don't necessarily want to do it, and by the way, when you're doing something hard and you're not necessarily getting that positive feedback loop that we talked about earlier, there will be days, maybe even weeks, where you really, really don't want to do it. But you need to, for whatever the time that you're setting aside to do that task, to do that challenge is, you need to put everything else out of your mind. Even if it takes you 10 minutes of just sitting there, clearing your head, and then you need to go full throttle, all energy boosters, thrusters, open, out, whatever you want to say, and just go all into it with the most positive, awe-inspiring energy that you can muster, because people can tell. People can tell at a subconscious level. I've really, really noticed that. You want to make sure that you're getting in the zone and removing all emotion whilst you're doing it, okay? That is a huge one. What else have I written down? I've talked about sucking, talked about the fact that it's not about the skill, it's about turning up, talked about positive feedback loops, talked about the fact that no one's going to care, talked about the fact that energy is absolutely everything. Oh, this is a good one, and it kind of ties into the last one. The days when you don't want to do it, but that you do it anyway, will feel 10 times better than the days that you do want to do it. There will be days, and like I say, maybe even weeks, where you really don't want to do it, but you have promised to yourself, not to other people, to yourself, that you are going to show up and that you are going to do it. Those days will feel so much better, guys. And I suppose the last one I wanted to talk about was the fact that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. In the age we live in, the sort of information age, all of this stuff is available times a billion for free everywhere anybody looks. People aren't necessarily interested in the information. They're interested in you and how you say it. And again, this comes back to energy. They're interested in the energy that you convey that message with, the words, the language, the stories that you use. So that has been a huge one for me. And last thing I will say is that whilst I still consider myself to suck at all of this, and I actually, even when I'm going through this video, I don't think this is one of my best videos. I think this is a pretty terrible video, so I appreciate it if you're still here. You can get very good at something if you stick with it for 100 days and if you show up no matter what. And you will really see and feel the power of compound interest, not just in your ability, but in your results. So it took 87 days for me to go from 0 subs to 100 subs on YouTube. And I very purposefully didn't really promote it on any other social media platforms, because I didn't just want like my mum and my friends to subscribe on my YouTube. A few of them did, obviously, which is great, and I support that, which is awesome. Thank you so much. But I really wanted to just see what I could do starting from absolute scratch with no presence or anything like that. What's interesting, it took 87 days to go from 0 to 100, and it's probably going to take 15 days to go from 100 to 200. That isn't me getting 100 times better. That is just that power of compound interest, okay? So you will really see it, you will really feel it, but it will take time to manifest. You have to kind of have faith that it will come. You have to turn up consistently, diligently, even when you don't want to. And just know that when you don't want to, it will feel 10 times better once you have done it, once you have put it out there into the universe. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave this video here, but I will say one more thing actually, because a lot of people might have wondered this. Am I gonna stop? Absolutely not. You know what? As hard as this is, and it is very hard to turn up every single day and do this, I've actually really enjoyed the process of it. I've taken away a lot from it. I've learned a lot from it. I've learned a lot about the process. I've learned a lot about myself. I've also learned a lot about stuff that I wouldn't even have really expected to learn doing this. And, you know, some of the stuff I've covered today. And I want to keep going down this path. I want to keep exploring it. I want to keep learning from it. And I want to keep seeing what I get from it. And very, very last point I want to make is I just want to thank anybody and everybody who has watched any of my videos. I think the views have been like 50,000, which is just mind-blowing to me. You get to see the watch hours, and it's in like the hundreds, if not the thousands of watch hours now, which is, again, just insane, like for me to just even comprehend. I can't even get the words out to say what I mean. So thank you so much for that. Like, the feedback has literally been like 99% positive. I think social media gets a very bad rep these days for, you know, negativity, and absolutely there are a lot of trolls out there who will say very negative things, but the sort of community that I've come across, you guys, has been absolutely nothing but positive. So thank you so much. You have inspired me and motivated me to keep going on this. And yeah, I'm not stopping, I'm keeping going, and I'm excited to do so. So Thank you for watching for the last 100 days. If you are brand new here, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Plenty more content coming your way. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.